Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Chris Mark. This is the 5 episode. Many important facts in the spectrum of awareness, of course, is the countless various forms of, and let's start with variation that is not easily visible, and not that the importance of these certain types of transportation devices that are not visible, meaning that they aren't visible, meaning that they aren't used or do not exist. Once again, these types of transportational and this has been reiterated many times on this broadcast, but it's important to point out that these are, of course, much better forms of transportation that can, should, and will be utilized. It's not necessarily just a sort of a if, but more of a when. Even though there isn't necessarily a when, because that's already known, which is now, of course, there's many, without a doubt, very incredibly advanced sorts of understandings of technology that has been in existence in forms of transportation, such as the TR-3B and cigar-shaped spacecraft made and designed by William Tompkins, something that's already been mentioned ages ago, and of course many different types of anti-gravity technologies that do and do not have to do with transportation, as well as mass reduction, which do and do not have to do with transportation. And that's just for transportation. That's just a sliver for transportation. Of course, those types of transportations can and should be utilized. Well, already have and can and should be utilized. The types of simple sort of everyday activities. Not necessarily that it's just activities that can be used for, but of course for elevated understanding of the types of potentials and therefore creative functionalities per se, or fruitions that can come into fruition from transportation. Of course, health is a very important aspect. Many different types of healing and healing environments, which can be sort of created or developed and just automatically utilized for the ones that already exist and are present, not only in the inner earth, hollow earth functions that exist, or not just functions, but just that exist. For example, such as something that's already been reiterated and definitely guaranteed, but the type of healing centers, for sake of conversation, healing centers that exist in Agartha or Hollow Earth and in, Kyrie, Corey Goods. Well, that's already been reiterated, but there's types of healing that regardless. Advanced type of crystal healing already exists, sonic healing already exists, many different types of technologies do exist to heal any type of, rejuvenate any type of, reveal any type of, you could, honestly, just being frank, you can look at the disease, the most worst disease, and there is a cure for it that can not just be dealt with instantaneous just as well as any type of detriment that could be dealt with instantaneous. So it's not necessarily just as of course, which has also been reiterated, it's not about, which is interesting, but it's not about, once again, which is still normal. It's not about talking about whether these things exist or not, but more about, once again, the implementation, which again, there is implementation because there is speech that does indeed go hand in hand, so that's a very positive thing. Once again, reiterations of the clarities that, with the understanding of more elevated sort of, for lack of a better word, relief exists, and just the understanding of basic knowledge from the same type of relief that exists from advanced transportation. Things that sort of have comparisons that we can use. For example, horseback, of course, is not as efficient and expedited as, this is just an analogy, expedited as vehicles. However, of course, you know, there's more balances and pluses and more positives that can be realized and utilized from that scenario regardless. Structures that exist that are much more solid and obviously much more able and capable and ultimately more solid. Many different types of structures not only do exist but also are in the creative mindset of what can and do exist in various advanced civilizations on and off world. And once again, it's not it's a sort of, which is a normal thing, it's a sort of awakening process, assuming that it's an awakening process, but it's a sort of awakening process, being aware of the types of establishments and structures that exist and are in place and also shall be in place and also can be transported. Because one of the things is not only the fact that there are not only something that we would, well, bear with me when I explain this, there's not only sorts of creations that exist that would not only be considered impenetrable, or not just necessarily impenetrable, but also indestructible and very unique and creative in their structure. There is an entire area where every, like just keep in mind, this is one way to think, which one way to think is the fact that every solution not only exists, but of course exists in a new location. So what I'm saying is, there's of course there's so much space that exists in the inner caverns. Surface world's population. And I'm pretty sure there'd still be room left over. Of course, it solves so many solutions of many types of evidences which do go on, which are said to be true. Or not said to be true. It's a blah, blah, blah. Just a few examples. Chemicals that are not healthy for the human body. Radiations that are not healthy for the human body. Stuff that we know is not healthy for the human body. And instead placed in the environment, for example, that things are helpful for the human body. Like crystal resonance, which is helpful for the human body. And fresher and cleaner air for the human body, as well as environmental weather conditions helpful to the human body, and not just to the human body, but for life in general. Of course, there are many plants and animals that would greatly enjoy an environment that was safer, better, more pleasant. Existences that exist. those. Parts of MacArthur, several cities in the geographic network, well, pretty sure all cities in the geographic network, as well as many fruitions that exist throughout the planet Earth, not only environments that are more stable. I want to say stable and sustainable. But at the same point, there's nothing enlightened about tricking so that others won't feel insecure about you. There's been a lot of progress, a lot of development of intelligence, recognition of intelligence, and really, once again, being bigger picture, because that's a bit easier for me to speak from and think from, is this planet is not only responsible for becoming more responsible for its responsibility as a planet, part of the, well, of course we have a grander fruition than what I'm about to explain, but of course responsibility to is amazing, because we do, which is brilliant, honest, and it's kind of reiteration, but it's a duty that we have fulfilled, do fulfill, and continue to fulfill. That's something that's wow. As honest as it seems, it's something that does keep for itself. So there's a lot of duties that do go on, a lot of work that still needs to be done, a lot of recognition of the potential that we do have, and of course a lot of work to commit to. This is your host, Christopher Michael Burger as well. This is